when you look at the types of referrers, because they fall into categories, like the woman that we're talking about here, Eileen, whatever her
Hmm.
name is.
Irene,
Uh,
yep.
yeah, she's a consultant.
Hmm.
Okay, so she consults with these drug inventors, right?
Hmm.
And helps them to do whatever it is they want to do. And then at some point they need manufacturing, which is something that you can provide, right?
Right.
So if you're going to go to the list of people like her, and so this, by the way, is our cold call list, are people who are potential referrers rather than customers. So our cold calls really aren't cold, like I'm trying to sell you something, just like, hey, I'm touching base. This is what I do. Just wanted to say hello. This, and I know you know this one, but some of them you aren't going to know, right? Some of them you just won't know. But so your conversation is a little bit different, obviously, with somebody that you know versus somebody that you don't know.
Hmm.
So, like when Chuck and I have called tens of thousands of banks, for example, and we didn't know any of them. So
Hmm.
we had a list. We called them, and we had a little spiel that we said, and it was pretty short and sweet. But if it's somebody that we know that we already have a relationship, it's a different conversation, right? So, but you can use those things that Chuck was talking about. You know you know what she consults about,
Hmm.
right? And some of these people, some of these referrers, there's recommenders and there's referrers, and the difference that I think anyway, a recommender just does it out of the goodness of the heart because they want to connect somebody who has something with somebody who needs something.
Right.
They just want to do it to be helpful. In my consulting deal, I just, look, if I can recommend a good source for you, I'm going to
Hmm.
do it because, and if there's, and so a referrer, or let's say these days, some of those are called influencers, right? I'm kind of taking it into a different area, but most influencers, it's just about money. They'll lie and they'll tell you whatever you want to hear as long as you
Hmm.
click the button and buy the lipstick, right? So so referrers are sometimes in it for the money. They won't do it out of the goodness of their heart. Uh, so so like we most of the deals that we ever did with banks, they were recommenders because we understood their motivation. We understood what they were after. What we could do is we didn't want to take all their business because we knew that would take, if for most scenarios, that would take, they're probably in the middle of an agreement with somebody else like us, and they're usually like a 4-year agreement, give or take. So we're probably a year and a half away from even a year from having a decent conversation. But we knew that there's some short term sticky
Hmm.
things that they run into.
Hmm.
And we go, hey, you know what? You might not need to stay there tomorrow, but when this comes up, we're good to have in your back pocket. So it's like, I just want to shoot my information over. And what we found is that when we got good at that, 90+% were like, yeah, absolutely. So it was very
Right.
light at first, and then we followed it up, and we ranked them, put in our CRM A, B, and C.
Right.
A, how likely are you to do A, B, C? A is very likely that we're going to do business at some point. B is like, I'm not sure yet. And a C is, I don't know, but I'm not going to waste my time calling them anymore because I want to
Right.
build a massive referral network. And I don't want to chase people who there's a real outside chance. I'll still keep
Right.
in contact with emailing, with something non-salesy. Hey, maybe a story. Hey, here's a deal that we've done, or here's a situation that we solved, or people like those, especially if they're just even yeah, I was going to say very industry related, right? They like those, and uh, it's interesting to them because they're interested in that stuff. So I know their motivation. I know all those bankers' motivation because I know when this happens, they're in. If we if they don't have somebody like us to solve the problem, their customer is going to go to the cross street to the other bank. So we and so you don't lose the customer, use us. So in this scenario, whatever the advantage is, so you understand the type of referrer, the type of person, the type of target that you're going to, what's their motivation, and you speak to that, right?
Hmm.
So so if yeah, and this woman that you already know, you go, hey, we've talked in the past, and whatever the conversation is, I know you have these people, and here's where we are, we're ready, you know, and let me ask you, or whatever, however it works. Chuck has some really good. Chuck's excellent at the
Uncovering
words.
the well, obviously, and I think you hit it right on the head. The traditional influencer that you see now, like over the internet, they don't have the kind of interaction with the people they're influencing. they're just a marketing person that somebody's subscribing to them, right? So they want
Yeah.
to get paid up front. This woman has like a working relationship with these people.
Mhm.
She's back and forth with them. She doesn't have 100,000 followers on the internet. She
They
has a
pay her
work.
money,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
pay her money. So we already know what her
to give her the
motivation
right
is
information.
to get, yeah, she's paid to give them the right information. And if she can come up with a solution for them, all it does is maybe that continues her contract for another 2 years. So what's
Mhm.
the intrinsic value of coming up with proper information? It's another 2 years on my contract at 30 grand a year times 10 different clients that I'm working with. So you know her motivations, but I think an important thing too is always make them say it. Even though I already know what all your things you're struggling with up front, I ask them the question. It's like, you ever hear the old expression, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to? That's how it works, like in business, right?
Mhm.
So, but I always ask the questions, even though I know the answers, because if they say it, if they verbalize it, now it's out in the open and it's real. It's something to deal with. If I
Mhm.
just go in super assumptive, then selling is not telling, right? You can't just tell them how it is. You need to ask them, so because then the one doing asking the questions is in control of the conversation, not the one talking. Because if you're asking questions, you can ask an open-ended question when you want more information. When you've heard enough, you ask a closed-ended question to get them to stop. And then I can ask them an open-ended question to lead it down another path. And all I'm doing the whole time is I'm gathering data to expose this problem, and then you can come in and show her what the solution could be to her problem.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
That does. Yeah. So,
So you notice what? Hold on. What Chuck just did?
mhm.
He asked you a closed-ended question. All you
Yeah.
can say is yes or no. I mean, typically, right?
Right.
Right.
And so because he was done talking and he was ready to shift topics, so he says that makes sense. Yes, and also it ties. It's also called a tie. It's a
Tie
tie
down.
down because if you say yes, good. If this was a sales conversation, basically by saying yes, you're giving him permission. You're saying yes, I understand. Permission to
Move on
move
to the
forward.
next thing. Yep. Move
Yeah.
on to the next topic. Yep. I get it. We're on the same page here. We're on the
If you
same
don't
page.
do
I
that,
get it.
and most people don't do that stuff, they go, and they're lazy. They are
Uh
not,
huh.
on these conversations, this is like, you're like a little, 14-year-old Chinese gymnast nailing this stuff. You know, you, you're doing it. You're you are in control of this conversation. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know it because it sounds like you're having a conversation, but you're leading. It's like that, the card trick of, you just think of any card and I can figure out what it is,
Right.
just by leading the conversation. You know,
Right.
uh, uh, I know where I'm going. It doesn't matter what you say. Like Chuck said, never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Another way to say that too is I always ask a question. It doesn't matter what they say. If they're going to say
Yeah.
A or B, like if you give them like,
Either
does
one
it do
works.
this or that? I don't
Hmm.
care what you say. I already know where I'm going, regardless of what you say. So you got to be prepared. You got to understand your material and have it a little bit. And it takes a few, right? Like
Hmm.
whenever we've done something new, I always think the first couple I call spin. Like I'm probably gonna just flub this, right? I'm just gonna I'm getting a handle on it.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go to my best targets at first, by the way. I'm
Right.
gonna
Right.
start somewhere else. Or I might go to somebody who's really close. Like one of the things that Chuck mentioned yesterday is when you work with people who are close to you, who like you, they'll give you the benefit.
Hmm.
They know that you're a good person. You're not trying to sell them something that's not going to be good for them. They're going to give you the benefit of the doubt and help you out a little bit.
Hmm.
So sometimes your first ones are to like you know we do a credit card processing business, and when people are new, we always say go to warm market, and it's not
100%.
because we just want you to sell one warm market deal and say goodbye to you forever, like most companies do. What we want you to do is go someplace that's friendly. So because the if you go cold, they will kick your teeth in and you'll go, I hate this business. It doesn't work. It's not very fun. They hate me. But if you go to somebody friendly, they'll go, I've heard this a million times. But if we arm you with the right stuff to say to a friendly person, you're going to have a more friendly experience. You're going to go, oh, okay, I see. But anyway, so the point there is that if it might not be a bad idea to go to Eileen.
Eileen, she's got one leg shorter than the other. No, I'm just kidding. But
You might be able to help her out.
yeah,
And
you
go,
might be able to help her out. But
I mean, there's a new drug for this. It's like
right.
it's like
But
Jurassic Park where they weave in like frog DNA. There aren't like frogs that they lose a leg it'll grow back. Maybe
right,
Eileen is the same sort of thing. We'll
right.
take her leg. Ian, go, hey, come over. I've got a set of tools in the garage.
Yeah, we'll
We'll
get
take
this
your leg
straightened right
off,
out.
put in this frog DNA, and
We'll get it straightened
6 to
right
8
out.
months later, you'll have a brand new young leg. You'll be able to hop around the cul-de-sac like quick like a bunny.
Right,
Anyway,
right. Yeah, but I think you brought up a really good point. Is
the frog
whomever
DNA.
Irene, yeah, the frog DNA. Once you have that, you're set. Um,
Yeah.
it reminds me of a joke. I'll stay away from that. But go to we call them low hanging fruit. That's what everybody. That's sales 101. I mean, it's low hanging fruit. Go to people you know.
Yeah.
And honestly, some people feel is they like, well, I'm more No. You need to go where it's forgiving. Go where it's forgiving, because the trust is already there. Because ultimately, people do business with people they trust. The trust is already there. It's just a reverse kind of process. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, the trust is there. Now I just need to convince them that, and if it is better, it's got to be better for them, or don't sell it. I'm a
Right.
big
Yeah.
advocate of sell what's better for people.
Yeah.
Because that's the part that's hard for people, is to get that, uncovering the needs and overcoming some objections, because they don't have that trust built yet. So go to people you know first, because that's so much easier. Way
Well,
easier.
and one of the things I think that most people miss, and back to the warm market, when people go, I don't want to go to my warm market because whatever, I've done that before. Well, you probably had a shitty product and it didn't work out, or
Hmm.
you didn't have
Hmm.
people saying, look, you go to warm market because it's more friendly, you're going to get business, you're going to do the right thing for them. If it's not the right thing for them, we're not going to move forward with them. But also, if you've got, everybody says, you can invite 200 people to a wedding or funeral. Everybody has 200 connections.
Right.
And so you go to those connections, and some of them are going to be right for what it is that you do. A couple maybe, but and you'll get maybe one of those. The thing with warm market is people think that, oh man, I've got 10 people who are really good targets, and I'm going to get all of those or half of those. No, you're going to get like one. And
Hmm.
then, because everybody else in the timing's not right or whatever the situation is,
Hmm.
but you still want to go to them. Just don't expect that you're going to get a lot of business from them, but you're going to get something out of it. And the rest of them, you're going to get referrals.